Welcome everybody. In this video I'm going to teach you how to use Regex. You have probably heard it from other programmers, maybe other YouTubers, that Regex is an important skill in a programmer's arsenal. And then you have gone ahead, tried to learn it, failed, tried to learn it again, and failed, right? So you heard Regex is good, you're trying to learn it, and it's just not working. What is happening, right? You probably don't know why you need it. You just heard it's good, it's this amazing thing, and I'm just gonna learn it because it's amazing, right? People don't learn like that. You need to know why you need it and what you're gonna use it for and how you're gonna use it, right? So why do you need it? Why is Regex important? Why should programmers know about Regex? Well, since the beginning, the inception of your career as a programmer, you have probably realized that repetition in code is pretty bad, right? You have the same string in 3 places, you need to update your code, you change it in one place, you need to keep remembering for the lifetime of the application that you need to change that string into other places. You forget to do it, there's a bug in production, you're in the logs, you're not having a good time, you remember it, and you find the bug, you've wasted the whole day, you changed the, you changed the string, and then you're like, oh, I'm such a good programmer, right? But you wasted so much time. So anyway, that is the scenario. We're trying to remove repetition, Regex as a pattern matcher over strings. So we have strings are everywhere in the programmer world. We are trying to find patterns in strings and do some logic based on if we've matched the pattern or haven't, right? Are you inputting the correct email or not? If not, here's what a correct email should look like. If you are putting a correct email in, have this verification. Somebody is typing in a command in chat. Let me check the format of the command, extract the correct variables, and use those variables to trigger the correct logic. If I'm scraping the web, I'm getting back a page. There's a ton of text in there. You know, the JSON is hidden in a div for some reason, whatever, prepended by some random characters. I don't want to start stripping away the HTML, parsing the JSON. I will just go ahead and run a regex over the whole HTML document, and it will extract me the exact particular information that I'm looking for. With regex being implemented in every programming language, it is essentially the ultimate abstraction over string pattern recognition. If something is written in a certain way, you can use regex to verify the pattern that you're looking for, or if it matches the pattern that you're looking for, you can define the pattern in such a way that it will tell you where in the pattern is the critical information that you're looking for. So let's say I have 100 bottles. I'm looking for a shelf with the bottles. That will essentially show me that there's a shelf with bottles. I want to find the one that has the particular name on it, and then I grab that bottle, right? So you can define slots from where to grab things, and then you can define the actual shape of what you're looking for. And since strings are everywhere, I feel like I'm repeating myself, this is why it's so useful. With some use cases mentioned like validation, searching for information, those are the primary 2 things. If you're doing it a lot, regex is a very, very useful tool. If you are ever in a situation where you had to replace strings just to extract some kind of information from a string, you could have probably used regex. One line, if you understand it, super easy. It's a lot more fun to write regex than to copy it from Stack Overflow as well. So I highly recommend that you go ahead and learn regex. And that's what we're going to be doing in this tutorial. So remember, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section or come join my Discord server, ask them there. And remember, the hardest part is the syntax of regex. So that's the primary focus of this tutorial, will be the syntax and trying to remember it. Unfortunately, the main way to do it is repetition, so you will need to go try to remember to the code that you have written previously and try to at least apply it to that. Let's go ahead and dive in. So, a general pattern recognition. What does simple pattern recognition look like? You have a string of A, you want to check, is this string A? If it is, trigger this logic, right? So you do string A equals string A. If that works, right? Trigger the logic, right? Same thing with regex. We are looking for a pattern of hello world. At the top, we type in the pattern. By the way, I forgot. We're using regex 101. You type the thing that you want to test at the bottom. You type your regular expression pattern at the top. On the right, you have your explanations for what you're writing. At the bottom, you have quick references, so you can look at what the tokens are, what they mean. As you're learning, this will be very useful. As you are very comfortable with regex, you don't even look at it, right? Anyway, feel free to pause, stop, read this, check what the token, check what it says. That will, all of it will help you understand and navigate this as the manual rather than your Stack Overflow Bible, right? Simple string comparison, right? We have hello world, we're checking it against hello world, right? Nothing new. Let's say we want to say hello to multiple things. This is where we can say hello world, or we can say hello food. The pattern that is emerging here is that we're saying hello to something. We can flat out go ahead and remove hello, and this will be exactly the same as string contains, right? Does my string contain this thing? If it does, keep going, right? Regex is not very good to use for these kind of simple tasks. This is just to sort of build up your knowledge. So if you don't understand what pattern matching is, you can kind of slowly approach the meaning behind the words of like pattern matching. There is a pattern of the characters saying hello. I'm looking for a pattern of characters in this order, which just happens to be hello. What are we saying hello to? I'm just going to use a bunch of characters here that you're not going to know, and we will go over slowly what they mean. The pattern is we're saying hello to something. I want to be able to capture that thing. What are we saying hello to? And extract it. So if the sentence goes something like hello world or hello foo, or if somebody's inputting a email and I want to know the domain, I can build up my pattern such that I can extract the domain. I can validate the domain. Is the email domain valid? Is the thing I'm saying hello to valid? Is the command that I am using, is it valid? There are a couple of things that are going on here. All four of the things that I have specified here are special tokens. These are the things that you will find a reference to. Unlike normal characters that you use, tokens have special meaning behind them. And just as code, when you write your code, your C#, your JavaScript code, it has special meaning behind it. The commands that the computer executes, that's the special meaning. The code is the thing that you write. Here, there's also special meaning behind the tokens. This is a programming language. There is common implementation across all programming languages. If you take the regex from one programming language into the other, it should work. This is what tokens look like. We are going to go over some of them one by one to understand what we can do with them. Let's go ahead, delete that. Let's delete that. I'm going to type in QWER, ASDF, and ZXCV, right? If I want to match QWER, again, I can type that in. If I want to match ASDF, I match it like this. And if I want to match ZXCV or just ZX, I can do that. What do I do if I want to match all of them? We can do this in many, many different ways. Same as programming, it's a creative outlet. You can do it in many ways. However, there is generally a way that works the best for your situation, so you need to be informed around what you're doing. Anyway, let's say we want to match all of these. So you can see how if we're typing in Z, it tries to match Z. If we type Z a second time, it will match it in every single place, even if it's in the same word. You will see if I type in Z many times, it has this different color outline here. That means that we are finding all occurrences. As pattern matching goes, we can have a sentence where we're saying hello 10 different times. We want to find all the times that a hello has been said to someone. We are trying to find occurrences of this letter within all the text that we have. The whole string that we have, there are occurrences of our pattern. Find us all the occurrences. Currently, our pattern is looking for Z. The first two tokens that I'm going to explain is starts with and ends with. If we use a triangle, summit, I don't know why they chose these specific characters. However, this will specify we are looking for some string that starts with a Z, right? So we say it starts with a Z. If we put a space and we put a Z there, that's already too bad because it starts with a space. We can add a space and you will see that we're looking for a string that starts with a space, Z. If we remove the Z, okay, this is the bit that starts with a Z. How about we want only the things that end with a Z? In this case, we use the $sign, right? And here are all these cases where we have the Z, right? Why is this useful? Why do you want to know the start? Why do you want to know the end? Well, how do you know if something is a URL? How does a URL usually start? Well, it usually starts with HTTPS, www. You know these. You can see these highlight red. That's because they're special characters. You gotta escape them. We want to see that something is starting with HTTP or HTTPS. So if we have some kind of, website, so facebook.com, I don't know, something like that. Let's say we want to verify that the website that we have just visited, or that the URL that we have in our application is actually a correct. So let's say if we have something like this, that's not a correct thing. We can obviously say we are looking for this thing and it's a group that we want to extract. And then we say, yeah, that's fine. But let's say we're submitting some data, or we have some data that we want to display to the user. There is a link to a video. We want to make sure in our test that it is always the correct link, or the data that we're generating is correct. So generally HTTPS, all your links start with HTTPS. You want to make sure that whatever you're typing in is HTTPS, right? You can do the same www, whatnot. And why would you want to know if something ends? Just a general use case, because usually you will use regex in your own domain. You will find a specific pattern that you want to find in the strings, and you are just going to go ahead and apply it. Here, what we're going to do is we're just going to say, right, we actually want to say that something ends with a .com, and you will notice the dot is also a special character. We're going go over it in a sec. But yeah, the summit, $, start and finish. Let's say we have some kind of email. Oh, let me leave that because we're going to come back to that example. So example, google.com, right? And I'll have something like this. That's not a valid email. If we just say we're looking for some kind of email expression.com and this is not valid, we want to make sure that the email ends at .com. However, if they add some gunk at the end, we don't care about that, right? That's not a valid domain that you can sign up with. So let's remove this. We look for all occurrences of Z. How about we want to make sure that we start with some particular characters. Here, what we can do is we can define a collection of characters. Let's say square braces. Let's say the position is 0. We want to say that in that position 0, it is either Z, X, whatever other character. So we're defining a collection of characters that can be in that particular position. So we will say it can be either Z or A. Notice if we add S, it does not get highlighted. If we say something like plus here, it will get highlighted. Or if we add S to the end here, we're going to expect this whole thing here. So AS gets highlighted because it is an occurrence that starts with a Z and then an S. Also, if something starts with an S, then it works. So hopefully you understand. This is a collection of characters that we can match. The plus here and the star sign, as well as 1 or 2 or 1 or 2. And notice if I remove the 1, just AS highlights. If I bring back the 1, S or AS. This is explaining how much repetition you want of these characters in a row. So if without the numbers or plus or star, we're just saying in this space, we want one of the characters that are here. We can also put numbers in here. We can also put ranges, right? So let's say A to Z. We accept any of these characters. So if we put something like 0, let me just type something here. We can also put 0, or we can say any number. So if we start with, let's say 2 here, you can say 0 to 9 as well. Okay, so you can have ranges in here, and usually you would do something like this, or if you're lazy and you don't want to be specifically specifying only lowercase, only uppercase, only numbers, you can just go \W. And as the tokens go, again, you can look up what they mean. This will say matches any word character or equivalent to this, right? So there are shorthand tokens as well. Now, if we say 1 or more, so let's say I'll start with a dash and then I'll say something like that. If I end with a dash, that's where the pattern will end because that's not a word character. We can then also say 0 or more. You will find that this thing is getting, this little color is getting appended there. So it is a match. It matches your pattern because you say 0 or more. So you're expecting this any characters to be present there or not. Again, starting kind of retracing to the beginning, a collection. What do you expect at this particular space? Some kind of numbers, some kind of letters. So you define, yeah, or some kind of, let's say, some kind of range of characters. Okay, so you can do A to B, A to C. That's what the dash here says. And if you actually want the dash, you escape the special character, right? In this case, dash is a token, just like your summit, just like your dollar, okay? So if we actually want the dash, we use the dash. Otherwise, it determines the range. So what kind of characters do we want in this space? How is this useful? Again, if we take an email, example at gmail.com, what format of usernames do you allow for your website? Do you allow a dot in the middle? Do you allow a dash in the middle? Do you allow numbers in your, what's it called, in your email, right? So let's say we'll do something like this, up to the @. So we do not allow dots, we do not allow dashes. That's why these are no longer valid emails. And we can, we can say gmail.com. Again, the dot, we'll go over it in a second, but these are not valid emails. I would like them to be valid. Let's go ahead, add the dash and add the dot here. So we actually match against them. If we don't want the dot, we don't include the dot. This is how you can validate your email. You can see that what Regex is, part of it is you're just typing out the regular thing, and then the bit, which usually changes and can be vague, that's where you start putting in this Regex magic. And now that you look at it, it's not too scary because we've just gone over it. Summit is the start, so we are expecting to start with words. We're not expecting to start with an @. \W is, again, as I pointed out here, is any word character, so we're matching all the words. Dash is not a word character, so we need to escape dash because it's a special character, so we want to include it. Plus, again, how many of these characters are we expecting to see? Let's say at the moment we're going from 1 to infinity. If we want 0 or more, again, that's $. Again, as you're learning it, you will get confused. You will need to remember it. Check the tokens, right? Verify all your regular expressions here. Usually you can identify a regular expression use case if you're doing a lot of string manipulation, right? So just as a reminder of when you want to try to apply regex to it. So let's say we want to limit this to a certain amount of characters. So let's say I have this long email. Listen, buddy, data is no longer free. We are in an energy crisis. You're only allowed, I don't know, like 10 characters in your bit before the @. This is where you specify 10 or 1. So at least 1 character or at least 3 characters. So your email needs to be at least 3 characters up to 10. So I think, yep, here is up to 10. So let's say the 3, 4, 6, 7, 0. And if we go 1 over, we go overboard. If you want to increase it, you can. So here you specify the range, the different patterns that you can get. So let's just get 1, 4, 3 here. We got 3, right? So we're matching that. If we go to 2, cool. So we can say, all right, we want 3 exactly, 3 or more. So this is kind of like 0 or more, 1 or more. This is your custom 1 or more, or 3 or more, or however more. So you're specifying the count of how many character range, the character collection that you defined, how long do you want that to be, right? So you're controlling the length here. And if you have a date, you want to control the year, you want to say, all right, it's either 2 characters where you say basically 98 or something like that. And then you can have 4 characters where you say 2021. So you can vary the ranges on the dates. If I'm saying a month, I may say something like Mar or March. Hopefully you get the idea there. If we want to limit the end, we can say something like 10, right? So from 3 to 10. So we can either usually go from 0 to infinity, 1 to infinity, your own custom start to infinity, or your own custom start to limit, or your exact expected count, right? This is not only applied to a collection of characters. If you have your own particular character, let's say that it doesn't start with that and we just want to look for occurrences of Z. Let's say we only go up to 4, so you will see we'll find one that is 4 characters, and the second occurrence is when we have 3 characters of Z, right? So again, we're applying a pattern over the big string that we have, and we're trying to find all occurrences or at least one specific one. So we've gone over the start, the finish, the collections of characters, some special tokens like \W for the word. We have gone over how long do we want to match it, infinity, or like start, where do we want to start, where do we want to finish, the exact count. What else can we do? Let's take a look at one other particular thing that we've seen a couple of times now, the dot. The dot, if you look here, matches any character. It's the simplest thing ever. So this is why we have to escape it. Dot means any character. If we say one or more, it will match the whole string everywhere. It's kind of like this super character, you know? This is why if you do want to match dots, you have to escape it. And if you specify it in your collection of characters, you don't actually have to escape it. If it's in your collection of characters, you can just use the dot as is. We're nearly approaching the end of the line with the syntax that I'm going to teach you. So let's just throw in a couple of more special characters. Let's say you want to find the numbers. We'll define a number range. You know, if you're doing phone numbers, let's say somebody types in a phone number that looks something like this, or I don't know, something like this. Okay, you know, however numbers look like. We want to be able to capture the whole number. We do not want to divide these numbers to be kind of like outside of the group. We can then obviously like sanitize it by taking out the strings and whatnot, but let's say we want to add a space. We can add a space like this. We can add a \S, in which case we're going to match any white space character, be it spaces, be it new lines, etc. So if we go as far as saying, right, we want the parentheses here, it is going to go ahead and match this whole number as 1. Let's go ahead and remove that. Let's remove the \S and let's just include the space with the parentheses. So this is now the whole number. This is the whole number. We treat them as separate numbers. We can extract them, right? Let's say we don't always want to specify this range, that when we want to refer to a digit, to a number, this is when we say \D. I usually use \D instead of 0 to 9, unless there is some kind of use case, like let's say it's the date. We can either have the 1st of the month, the 10th of the month. We can also have, let me put them on new lines, the 23rd. However, you cannot have the 34th of the month. That doesn't exist. And as another use case, 29th of the month can exist. So the first number can go from 0 to 9. The first number can only go from 0. And I mean, it's a little bit tricky because sometimes you don't want to include the 0 on there, right? So it's optional. So let's remove it. Let's try to match these date numbers, right? Range of the first character can go from 0 to 3. So let's say 0 to 3, and we matched it. The second character can go from 0 to 9. So we can just say digit, and not to escape it, just 1. However, now we're not matching this first number, which is also a valid number. This is where you have the optional token, which is the question mark. So question mark, is it here? Is it not? I don't know, man. I don't know, right? Question mark. That's how I see it. Question mark means optional. Let's take a look at groups. This is the last bit, and also I'd say the most fun part. We will take the email example. I think it will be the most relevant here. When I specify my email, I want to extract the username, the email provider, and the domain that the email provider lives in. So let's say I will build up my simple email pattern. We'll say we have a bunch of words, we press W, it has to start with words, it has to continue with an @ and then we're gonna have something. This something is going to be the email provider, in case it's Gmail, Yahoo, whatever. It also comprises of just word characters, so I'll say \W+. It is then separated with a dot, and now I want to specify the domains that I allow. So let's say I allow com, right? So I recognize com.co.uk. I recognize that. What other ones are the CA, dev, something like that, right? So these are valid ones. I don't want somebody putting something like this, and I want to make sure that it ends with this domain, right? So I'm not matching this gunk here. And let's not forget about the username here. So let's put these in a group. So you can see we're putting parentheses around these. Please remember, if you do put your square braces around parentheses, much like the dot, it just becomes a regular character. Okay. What are capture groups? Capture groups, it captures the value inside of it. So whatever pattern you want to match, it captures it. The value that it provides to you in your programming language is a convenient way to extract that value. Let's say we're looking for a needle in a haystack. Regex finds the needle and lets you grab it. So it's not only a string dot contains, it's more of a string dot index of, and then grab the substring of the occurrence that you were looking for. Okay, so that's the kind of operation that you will get provided with, although it will work for all of the occurrences of the group that you've specified. So when you match against this regex expression, you can say grab me group 1, it will grab you this group. Grab me group 2, it will grab you this one. If you say grab me group 3, it will give you this one. Sometimes it is not cool to just have positional based arguments, right? So if you write programs, you name your variables, you give them descriptive names. You want to know what it is, right? Why should groups be any different? Okay, so this is where you can specify what group it is. This is the syntax. The question mark after the first parentheses generally means that something's going on here, right? Like we are modifying this group. You can make it a non-capturing group, so we're not capturing it. So if you grab the first group now, you will grab the actual Gmail domain. With the angle brackets, usually you know how if you write out subcode var param name, you usually write something like this, right? It's not only me, hopefully. All right, so foobar, let's find some programming. Yeah, usually, you know, when you type out code, pseudocode, and you want to say, yeah, some variable, something varying here, and you're saying param name, this is exactly what you put in here. So we're going to say username. So instead of saying get me group 1, you're going to say get me username. And it's just going to go ahead and extract you this value, whichever is in this group, right? So now you can go ahead and name your groups. What is what, grab the exact things. So the main functionality with groups that I want you to understand is it defines a container for you to grab the value from, kind of like a already existing variable. Remember, the operations that you would really have to perform is index of and then extract a substring of that, and then you have the value. So instead of having any procedural steps, you just say get me username and it extracts that for you. So let's go ahead and have a use case, right? So let's say Facebook. I'll go to my Facebook. I will open up the network tab so we can grab the user ID of my account, right? Here's the response, a bunch of HTML. Let's go ahead and find user ID in here. There, you should be able to see it somewhere there. Let's put a cursor and we'll see what it looks like, right? So this is the format, the pattern that it comes in. Cool. I don't want to do any string parsing, any JSON parsing. I don't want to do nothing like parsing the JSON response, grabbing it from some part of the response. I don't want to do any navigation. This is what it looks like. This is going to be the pattern. Let's go ahead, extract this particular thing that I'm looking for. All right. So if something like this is going to be present in my text, I can just say, get me Facebook's page. There is the user ID in there. Apply this regex. Grab me this thing here. I want to name it something. Let's say user ID. Get me the user ID, right? If match, get me user ID. All good, right? So you have the user ID. We can go ahead. There we go. So pasted it all in here. You should be able to see that it doesn't take too long. If obviously this is actually my user. So if we want to grab other users, we say, all right, we want digit plus, right? So we found 8 matches here. If we look here, it's 10 matches. So we're actually being more precise than this generic way of searching, right? So hopefully you kind of get the gist there with scraping. So if you are going over some kind of page, you just say, right,
throw this regex in there and extract the data that I need. Usually you want to parse the JSON, you want to parse, you want to use XPath, or you want to load XML nodes. This is not a tutorial about web scraping. This is about regex, right? So hopefully you get the picture of how powerful it can be. Just go ahead and grab and extract your value. Let's clear this, right? Hopefully you've used Discord. Hopefully you have used any sort of maybe command line tool, something like that. This is more of like chat command. So if you are on Twitch, if you're on Discord, if you're on Slack and you type in /command, something happens. What command are you typing? What is meant to happen? What are the parameters to that command, right? What is going on? So let's say the command will be remind me to pick up the dog at 5 o'clock. We can remind other people. For example, we can remind Steve. We can say AM. We can say 24-hour format. We can say on 23rd of May. We're not going to go down the year because hopefully by the end of when we're done with this, hopefully you should be able to get the picture. So what do we start with? We start with a command, right? So /, it is a special character. We escape it. Remind, right? So I'm just going to do something here where we can do something like this, right? We can do a non-capturing group and providing some other syntax here. So if you do want to use some other syntax, right, or you want to match multiple commands here, you can still do this, and we'll do this a couple of times, and probably at that point you want to say this is my command that I'm executing here, right? So this is just giving you ideas that we're not actually going to be doing this here. Let's get rid of this, right? So we are trying to remind somebody of something. So let's provide a space. We'll provide a capture group. Who are we reminding? This is a target, right? So we're aiming at somebody who, myself, that guy, who is it, right? So it's the target in my head, at least. Just a word, right? One or more word, however many words, whenever the next space comes, whatever, right? Let's say, yeah, usernames. Obviously, you've seen me do the what's it called, the pattern. If you have a dash, okay, then we will have to provide a collection where we allow words or dashes, and this could be the username, okay? What happens next? What are we reminding people about? Again, this is the actual reminder. This is the text that we're going to provide. So again, this is a word. Oh, we have spaces in there. Okay, so let's add the space, and we can do the space. However, we now want to add end at the at, because the whole point of the program is to remind me to do something at a particular point. Let's put a space and let's say at. Okay, so this is where the time format starts. This is where we can say, okay, let's specify the time. And as you've seen me do with the dates, I'm going to do something like 0 to 2, because that's the main range that it can be in. And as you can see here, it can be 1 character or 2, or you can have a 0 there, right? It's some kind of time. We want to just extract it, by the end of it, we will then parse it into a computer understandable time, okay? The next one is 0 to 6. I think it is. No, that's the other one. Let's say that this one is just going to be a digit. Okay. We then say colon and then the next part. Now this goes up to 60. I know that much. 0 to 6. And again, a digit. Optionally, we may have AM or PM. This is where we can say AM, or let's say we want to have PM. I can't remember anymore if I covered it or not, but let's add PM. I know you can't have 24 PM. That's not the point here. The point here is that we still want to capture this or recognize this as part of the time format. This is where we add a non-capturing group and we say we may have AM or PM. It doesn't really matter too much. There may be something at the end. So these are the two particular things that we can have. And notice the OR operator here. We either can have AM or PM. The pipe, simple, same as your programming language, double or you know, if you are in Python world, it's OR, but yeah, pipe is OR. So we have thrown these away because they don't have the time format there. So let's make this optional with a question mark, right? We're not capturing it as a separate group because we have added a question mark colon to make sure that we're doing a non-capturing group, right? So question mark colon. We don't need to do this. We can see the letters A, M, P, right? So we can do something along the lines of A, M, P, and we're expecting 2 of these characters. Now, this does open up the angle of PA or AP, so there is potential for error here. So be careful when you're saying, oh, this is a shortcut, but you just want to make sure that you're doing a little bit, you're not only doing searching, you're also doing validation. It's a pattern, right? So let's go with the previous one, non-capturing group AM or PM. We're now excluding these random ones here. You'll see the rest of this is still included though. So what we can do is add a $sign, right? Ends with specific datetime format that we have specified. Otherwise, the command is not valid. I'm going to omit the $sign for now because we still have to work with the date. So you can see the date is not specified on here. That means we can kind of say like every day sort of thing, right? We can do something like that. Let's say on, and you see the rest of the stuff disappeared. This is how you know it's like an optional block group, and mark it optional, right? So we're marking the whole group optional. We have done this a bunch of times now, and let's proceed, right? So the whole group is optional. On is not really part of the time format. So let's go ahead, put it in a non-capturing group. Let's put the space in there, and we don't really care about this group. We just want to recognize it as this attachment of the date. I'm not going to spend too much time on the date. Hopefully you get the picture. We, as I said before, you can have the 0 to 3, the optional. You can then have a digit of it, digit over here, and the space shouldn't be there, right? So if we add a space, if we have a space in this group right here, and this space, it counts as 2 spaces, right? So let's just remove this space. Now we're up to 23rd. Now we may have RD, so first ST, ND for second, RD for third, fourth, fifth, and these should be 2 characters, right? So if we are going with fifth or something like that, there we go, right? So you can see I'm essentially building up a whole application where you would have to split string and do a bunch of like crazy operations. This is a one-liner, and then say, get me the target, give me a reminder, give me the time, and if we have the date, get me the date as well. Yeah, and obviously let's not forget the rest of the format. There's going to be a bunch of words, and there can be, let's say like, I don't know, what's the longest month, up to 10 words, and we will start with 0 or 1 or 3. Let's say 3, because you can have Jan, Mar, and if you're specifying May, you can specify Jan, or you can specify January, and then you can have the year as well. Let's do the year, why not? Obviously, the year, the year is optional, so, and it's not its own group, so we put an optional non-capturing group. This is where, again, I'm going to come back to the use case where we might want to be able to do something like 98 as the year, right? Let's not put 2 spaces there. So on 98th year, remind me in the past. So for this non-capturing group, let's say we want to go, a bunch of digits. It will be either 2 or 4. As with these groups, they kind of stop being highlighted there, but let's say we don't want to specify fifth. So this will be optional. The one thing here is why it's breaking is the space here, right? So you go through this line by line, same as a real program. You just kind of like look through it, see what's up to which place it works, where it stops working, work from there. So this space, if we remove it, that's back. Let's add it as part of the non-capturing group, and let's remove the other one. So I guess, yeah, the optional operator here was a little bit of a derp, but let's say we may not want to provide anything, right? Or this whole date could be every day, and when we say or, we can just go ahead and provide our operator. So where is the capture group happening here? So we can either have this value or every day, right? With a space. Optional space, so you can remove the space, you can add the space, whatever you prefer, right? If you don't want the space optional, if you want people to provide the space,
do it. Now, let's say somebody types in f because they had caps lock. Usually in your program, you will be in your programming language, you will be able to make the regex case insensitive. Here, you just go ahead, click on this and make it case insensitive. For what the other options here really don't matter too much. Usually you want to be looking for occurrences within your big string. And finally, to top it off, let's go ahead and put a $sign on the end. If we're not ending there, these are invalid commands, right? Let's remove this. Voila. Here's your command line for your chat to remind yourself. You just now have to build the logic for reminding. Otherwise, you apply this regex to the string and you say, give me the target, give me the reminder, give me the time, give me the date, and then you input that into your own function and do whatever, however the reminder works, right? There is a little bit more to regex than this. However, I would say that this is the baseline where once you are here, you know most things about regex and you're able to just use it like this and apply it to most things. There are going to be small edge cases where you will need to learn how to like look ahead or look behind. But for now, this is the base knowledge. This is the base syntax that you can use. Hopefully you have found this useful. If you did, leave a like, subscribe. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Reach out to me on Discord. And don't forget, have a good day.